So if you're trying to reconcile with your ex, it's normal to think that maybe being friends with them, being around them is a good idea. The thinking is that if I stay around them, they're going to miss me. They're going to miss what we had. They're going to want to get back together eventually. So I'll just be around them, pretend that I don't want to reconcile. But if you do want to reconcile, being friends with your ex can be a really big mistake. So in this video, I'm going to break down why being friends with your ex whilst you're trying to reconcile can be a really terrible idea and what to do instead. So I can get the initial idea, the temptation. If you've just broken up with your ex, then hanging out, being friends again, potentially may lead to reconciliation, right? But doing this in the wrong way can actually push your ex further away and decrease the likelihood of reconciling. So the first question to really ask yourself is, do you actually want to be friends with your ex? There's nothing wrong with being friends with your ex. By all means, be your ex's friends if you do want to genuinely be their friend. It is completely possible to be friends with an ex. And this is where the main problem starts to lie, is that if you do want to reconcile with your ex, you can pretend that you don't want to reconcile. Ultimately, if you do want to reconnect with your ex, it's important to make sure that you, A, be honest about it. Even if they say there's no chance, don't pretend that you aren't interested in them. Don't pretend that you don't want to reconcile. Don't pretend that you only want to be friends. But if you do want to reconcile, it's really important that you don't fall for this paradox of control, to try to control what they do, to try to pressure them into constantly talking about the relationship. If they do want to reconcile, it's important to make sure that they reconcile on their own terms, not because there's pressure there. Hiding your true feelings, not only from yourself, but from your ex, can lead to a lot of conflict and stress. If you're constantly pretending that you're not interested in reconciling, you're faking this idea that you don't have feelings, this can take a toll not only on you, but also on your relationship with your ex. And it ultimately leads to confusion. Pretending that you're over the relationship creates mixed signals, not only for your ex, but also for yourself. You might start believing this narrative, and this can delay the natural process of either healing and getting over your ex or moving forward and trying to pursue the relationship. Suppressing your feelings isn't moving on. And this leads to a lot of unresolved emotions that might pop up not only in this relationship, but also future relationships as well. So the second big mistake in being friends with your ex is that it can delay you from taking the right steps. So you can falsely think that being friends with your ex means that you don't have to really make any changes to yourself in order to build the relationship skills that you need to. If you and your ex are not together right now, chances are that you had a role in that. So it's really important to be able to take the time to self-reflect on where you went wrong and what you can do to move the relationship forward. Being friends with them, you can falsely believe that you don't actually have to make those changes. If they're constantly around you, then you can feel like you can take your foot off the gas, right? But the truth is that you have to work through making sure that you are learning how to manage your emotions, how to regulate the way that you act, work on breaking ruminating thoughts, etc. All of these things that have an impact on the relationship, it's important that you make sure that you actually take action on these and don't just falsely believe that you don't have to. If you're just simply being friends with your partner and you've taken your foot off the gas, chances are your partner is going to be less likely to reconcile with you because you're not actively working on these things. If you're still around your ex, you can avoid confronting your own issues or taking any real accountability for your role in the breakup. And this avoidance can really hinder your personal growth. It creates a false sense of progress. If you think about it, being in proximity of your ex can make you feel like you're moving forward, but without the real inner work, you're more likely to end up right back where you started. So it's really crucial to make sure that you're not just hanging around your ex and pretending that is a replacement for real growth. Another mistake in being friends with your ex is that if you aren't really developing yourself to a really high standard, then you're likely to mess up more. When there's been a breakup, your partner will often see the relationship through what we call expectancy bias. So expectancy bias is the idea that even if you've changed, your ex-partner is expecting things to be the same. So they're going to see you and the relationship through this expectancy bias. And because of this, if you do want to reconcile with your partner, then you need to be not just better, but you need to be the absolute best because you already have the odds stacked against you. So this means that you have to work to a much higher standard to reconcile than you would do just being in a relationship in general. So if you don't have the solid steps forward to grow yourself and to rebuild the relationship, then you're going to end up fumbling the ball whilst you're around your partner. You know, if you're still in your ex's life and you haven't really grown a lot, then they're going to still likely see old patterns, old behaviors that contributed to the breakup. And this is ultimately going to reinforce their decision to end things. Because your ex has a certain perception of you, because of this expectancy bias, they're going to notice every misstep or area where you haven't changed. And unless you know how to handle the way that they react, this can actually send the relationship in a much worse direction. So your ex is going to likely expect certain behaviors from you. And if you don't meet these new expectations, then they're going to reinforce these negative beliefs that your ex has of you. And unless you have the skills to be able to navigate these conversations, then it's going to make it even harder and harder to make these changes that you need to make. And ultimately, being friends with your ex can actually really hit your confidence. If you haven't developed or even started to develop these right tools in navigating the relationship, and you're constantly getting rejected and knocked back, if you're not prepared for this resistance and this knockback from your ex-partner, then this can actually send you in a worse direction.
A lot of people think that confidence is something that you either have or you don't have. But confidence comes in small wins every single day. So if you're friends with your ex and you're constantly feeling rejected and you're interpreting this as a loss, then your confidence is going to take a hit. You're going to constantly feel these mini losses along the way and your confidence is going to go down. And this is where a lot of people make the mistake of simply avoiding the rejection so that they don't feel losses and they don't have an impact on their confidence. But actually, how you act during these rejections and during this confidence knocking will actually have a big impact on your partner in the moment. So if you crumble emotionally, get upset, or let your ego get bruised, then it's easy for these to actually turn into a loss. But if you respond well during rejection, if you know how to navigate these situations and respond in a positive way with your ex-partner, then even during being rejected, you can give your ex a positive impression of yourself and boost your own confidence despite being rejected.
And during a breakup, this expectancy bias and this resistance is very common. And this is what I work on with all of my ultra normal members, is how to navigate and not only address this expectancy bias, but also to be able to thrive in it, to be able to turn it into a positive. So this is a really crucial skill to be able to navigate the communication and the emotional regulation during this time. And if you do want to start on that journey, then join me on my free relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the same steps and tools that all of my successful ultra normal members have started to use in order to rebuild and repair their relationships. Just click on the link in the description box to get started. You know, most people will see this expectancy bias as a bad thing. They will feel demotivated by it. But actually, this expectancy bias is a good thing. Another reason why it may not be the best idea to be friends with your ex is that there's going to be this constant comparison. Being around your ex is going to mean witnessing moments where they maybe don't seem interested in you anymore. And unless you know how to process this, can feel like constant rejections over and over again. And you can end up feeling disempowered, constantly checking in or seeking approval from your ex. It can prevent you from actually taking charge of the right actions in order to repair the relationship. It can demotivate you unless you know how to process it and how to spot the right things to do and how to navigate these challenges along the way. So I've spoken about this before in a video, which I'll link to on the screen, but learning how to navigate the emotional discords that come with relationships is really crucial. So if you're still hanging around with your ex and you don't have the skills and tools to be able to navigate these crucial conversations, then ultimately you're going to fumble the ball. You're going to fold under pressure because you haven't developed the right emotional tools and conversational tools to be able to navigate when your partner reacts in maybe a negative way or in a tough way. You haven't built the emotional capability to be able to handle conversations, and you're going to fumble the ball. And if you do fumble the ball, then this is going to reinforce to your partner that being in a relationship with you right now is not the right thing to do. So if you do want to know more about rebuilding emotional safety, I'll leave you with that deep dive video, and I'll see you over there.